I do think we might see a second debate just because, one, the Democrats are feeling very happy. Like in the spin room, they were like, yeah, let's do a second debate, which is not, what they were saying maybe like 2 days ago or 3 days ago or even like a week ago.
Right.
In the debate room, I did ask several Republicans, I asked, Vivek Ramaswamy, I asked Brian Donalds, is like, are we going to get a second debate? And, they seemed willing. They did not shut it down. I spoke to RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, who also did not shut down a second debate when I asked him about it.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by national political correspondent Mabinty Quarshie. Mabinty, there's been this other debate that everybody's talking about, but there's a debate coming up in the Pennsylvania Senate race that you've done some reporting on. What are the stakes there?
Yeah, so we recently spoke to Republican Dave McCormick, and he is trying to unseat the incumbent Senator Bob Casey. And this is a Senate race that could help determine control of the Senate. Democrats are defending 51 seats, but Republicans have a really good shot at flipping the Senate. And so, Republican McCormick, when we spoke to him, we were at a synagogue. He was, recording a podcast and, preferably trying to get the Republican Jewish vote in Pennsylvania, which could flip the state for him. The polling is showing the race is extremely close. They have spent $281 million in the general election. That's like $50 million more than what was spent in the 2022 Senate race. And I think it's even more than what Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are spending in Pennsylvania as well. This is one of the closest races in the state, I'm sorry, in the nation, and it could, again, give Republicans the edge that they're probably going to have come November.
And the incumbent is Senator Bob Casey, who is son of the former governor. This had been considered a tough race, but it's obviously one of the Republicans' target races.
Yeah, and I would say something that I found interesting is when I spoke to Democrats about Bob Casey, they kept saying he lacks charisma, and he needed more help from Democrats. He needed more money because he just doesn't have the command that, say, a Trump or Kamala Harris has.
Sure.
And I think the thing that is also interesting about the race is it's been very nationalized. When I went to the campaign offices in Pennsylvania, all of the mailers were linking, Casey to Kamala and McCormick to Trump. So it's not just a local race, it has also become a national race as well.
So I think last week you predicted that Trump and Harris would actually shake hands at the debate, and now they've publicly shaken hands at least twice. And at first I thought at the 9/11 ceremony that Harris initiated it, as she did on debate night, but I saw another shot where it looked like maybe Mike Bloomberg facilitated that a little bit, but
they're very awkward when it comes to shaking hands. You can sense that they don't really want to do it, but they're trying to be cordial, especially at the debate. For a second, I didn't think it would happen, but Kamala walks up to him and he relents, and so I appreciate them trying to be cordial.
What were some of your takeaways from the debate?
Okay, so I did 10 takeaways because this was a very not chaotic, but it was a very engaging debate. And I think one of the big takeaways for me is that policy really mattered. We hit the ground talking about the economy, abortion, immigration, foreign policy. But I think one of the bigger takeaways for me is that, Trump, he had been trying to portray, this professional, reserved manner, but I do think at moments during the debate, Kamala Harris did get under his skin in a way that maybe threw him off his game. And I think it did reiterate that what he did with Biden back in June is not going to work with Kamala Harris because she's, 20 years younger than Biden.
Right.
And so I think, especially because Kamala kept telling him, I'm not Joe Biden, I'm not Joe Biden.
Right.
And so
he kept saying, you are Joe Biden.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And he came at her. At one point I think he told her, Biden hates you.
Yeah.
So
yes.
They went at it.
And Biden putting on the Trump hat has
yeah.
kind of stoked some of that kind of talk in the last couple days.
Yeah. So things are getting a little bit more nastier than they have been. And I think another topic is at one point Trump told Harris, you hate Israel, and highlighting the importance of the Jewish vote, as we talked about with Dave McCormick and Bob Casey as well. Yeah, and then another takeaway for me is that the moderators, they they did fact check Trump a couple times,
Right.
and a lot of conservatives online and in the spin room, they were not happy with it. Although
Sure.
I will say the conservatives online were maybe angrier than the conservatives in the spin room, who were like, this is, nothing new for us. So, yeah.
Yes, people online are frequently angrier than people in person.
Fair.
So immediately after the debate, there was a new debate about whether there'd be a second debate. Do you think that Trump and Harris have debated for the last time for this election cycle, or might we see them together again?
I do think we might see a second debate, just because, one, the Democrats are feeling very happy. Like in the spin room, they were like, yeah, let's do a second debate, which is
Right.
not, what they were saying maybe like 2 days ago or 3 days ago or even like a week ago.
Right.
In the debate room, I did ask several Republicans, I asked, Vivek Ramaswamy, I asked Brian Donalds, is like, are we going to get a second debate? And, they seemed willing. They did not shut it down. I spoke to RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, who also did not shut down a second debate when I asked him about it. The thing, though, is that I'm not sure where Trump stands. In
Right.
some ways, he seemed like we were in the spin room screaming at him, like, are you going to do a second debate? And he very pointedly did not answer us.
Right. He seemed to soften on that a little bit hours after the
Yeah.
debate, but it does seem like his preference is not only Fox, but opinion hosts
Right.
at Fox.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem super likely that
Harris would
will
agree
yeah.
to that. There is a third debate tentatively scheduled for NBC News, but again, I don't know if Trump would feel comfortable doing NBC News. He might feel like they're biased against him as well.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mabinty.
No problem.
You can read Mabinty and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.